Here is a quick list for the Android operating system. It was started from the version number 1.5 and they name it Cupcake. Then you can see all the names they are means linked with the dessert. Kit Kat is there, Marshmallow is there, Oreo is there, Pie is there, okay, Froyo is there. So this is how Honeycomb is there. So anyhow, the versions are started from 1.5, 1.6, and so on and so on. And we escape from the few of the means versions from this. And just to give you an overview and idea. So right now we are at the beta version of 11, Android 11. So you can see how fast this is, means this improved itself. I do remember that the 5 years before, or 6 years before, I was teaching this Android programming, and at that time, I taught the course. That time there was no Android Studio even there. We used to use the other tools to write the program, and that was a really tough time to write the programs for the Android. What I mean by the tough time means it requires a lot of efforts to do to get to some functionalities. Then when Android Studio was means announced, so everybody was got happy that this is now is very same and very familiar with the Visual Studio Touch, like what we have for the .NET for Microsoft .NET frameworks. So the Android Studio itself, it was having a lot of issues at the start. So it was started from the earlier versions like 1 and 1.2 and 1.4 and 1.5 and like that. And now you are lucky at the luckiest time that it was improving with time and it is improved in a very limited time. And I believe that now the Android version 4 is there. So most of the things are now simple, just like a cupcake for you and waiting for you to enjoy. It was not like before. And previously, it was required a lot of amount of memory and resources for the machine. We may require a special machine to run, but now with the time, they improve everything. It improves the compilation, it improved the support, it included the a lot of the different libraries. Like suppose now we can use the SQLite. Previously, it was only the file-based system, and it was only for the small type of applications. But now we can convert the websites into the mobile apps and mobile apps to the means website. We can use the SQLite databases and so many other APIs and so many other libraries and so many other options are available now. That was the dream at that time. Now things are changed. The world is changed. So you will enjoy those all very soon. So here we already discussed that it is the most common, why we are using it. So it is the most common with respect to the traffic and revenue share. So if we just have a look, you can see that Android is 65% share in the market goes to the Android. This is just an imaginary, just to make your means clear your concept, because this figure is changing on a daily basis, up and down. So you can see that from this conceptual figure, 65% is there, and iOS is 22.34%. The others, they are 6.4, and the Symbian 3. The BlackBerry is 1.8. Maybe these numbers up and down if we compare recent right now with today's values, but the variation you will find with the same ratio, with the same aspect almost. So this is the reason that it is having means more market share. And as we know that why it has the more market share, because it is being used in several devices. So that is the reason that it is more popular. It is open source as well, while the other operating systems, especially like for iOS, they are being used by them only. They are not allowing to the others. It is means closed-based operating system. That is not the open-based operating system like the Android one. Now you can see from here that another fact that why we choose the is Android. So you can have a look from this that market share, how it is from 2014, 15, 16 up to 2020. As I mentioned to you with the previous slide, that was only for your assumption-based idea. So now from here you can see the blue color is actually showing to your Android share of the market. And the next color, which is the 14 point, if you just see to the year 2020, which is the 14.2, that is the market share for the Apple. And the rest of the means market share for the other companies. So you can see the growth rate, and it is keeping itself means at the same pace, and also it is trying to increase. Maybe after 2016 it goes down for a while, but again it is means increasing with the same ratio. So this is the reason that we are choosing the Android, because that is the most popular, most common operating system which is being used in the market. Now, if we just go ahead, just see here, we are almost 7 billion in population. So you can see that how many mobile phones we have, how much it is increasing. So we in 2019, the reading was saying, mentioned that it is almost 5.0 billion devices are being in use, because most of the people, they are using multiple devices as well. So not to be worried about that how this number is higher. Now, this is the really means high growth and high demand which is showing for mobile applications. So do you know that the mobile applications, what is the exact number of the mobile applications which is available at the Google Play Store? That number beyond your imaginations. You just go and search for it, you will find that number is in billions of the mobile applications. So the developers who are developing those applications, they have high value and they have high importance. And this work, as I mentioned to you, previously it was hard, but now it is not hard. So you can become the means developer for this. So be ready and means configure and install your Android Studio, as we can start working on that, and you can start working on that as well for the different aspects, because in the programming part, always it only requires your personal maximum practice. By reading, by means listening, you can understand, you can learn, but that you cannot compare with your learning what you have done by doing your own exercise, by applying hands-on practice. So that's why what we are asking, that are you ready? So today, yes, we have to make sure that we are ready. For this thing, we have to configure the Android Studio to make it ready for our next class, where we can start working on that. So you can explore, install the setup for the Android Studio, and understand the Android and its architecture. That's what we are going to discuss now. For installing the Android Studio, you are supposed to means follow the few important points. You just can go to the Google and search for the Android Studio. You will find the different versions are there. Maybe the most recent versions you can find. So you need to see the latest version you can go and install, but make sure that what version you are going to install, read about that particular version is in stable channel. What is a stable channel? Because as you know that Android is the open source operating system, so they are releasing the different versions, but they don't mark it as a stable version. It means the other version is still under testing, and that will not provide you the support for so many things, and probably it will means create a troubles and problems because it is under development. So once means it is ready, then they declare that that operating system version is in stable channel. So whenever you install any of the updated versions, say for example, you can see 4.0 and 4.2. So if it is not declared that 4.2 is in the stable version, then please don't go for that. Only go for the 4.0 version. And once you install the your Android Studio, then the next thing is means automatically whenever any update will come, it will ask to you that the updated version for the Android is there. So again, you are supposed to take care for this point. This is critical. So you need to check with the updates. It will mention to you that this is the stable version, stable channel or not. So if it is in a stable channel, then only means you may go for the updation as well. So this is the important point you are supposed to consider before you go to install your Android operating system. So try to make it done before your next class, and as we will be able to learn the more about it, and your next lab, which is the week number 3 lab, I believe that lab will be also face to face as well as online. So if it is possible, you can come. Otherwise, it will be online as well, and then we will be start working on the Android Studio. Now, before we go to understand and discuss about the architecture of the Android Studio architecture, it means the operating system architecture. So Android is, sorry, not the Android Studio, but the architecture about the Android operating system. So Android operating system is the operating system we already discussed, and operating system for the mobile. So before we go there, we have to understand the architecture about the operating system, and which I believe that maybe you already covered in your operating system module. So what we are trying to cover, what we are trying to understand, we are trying to understand the operating system structure. What is the base or basic normally operating system structure? So always the base for the operating system structure, it is layer based. And all of the operating systems, either they are mobile operating systems like whatever the 7-8 names we call iOS, Windows operating system, Windows mobile operating system, JVM, Android, Symbian, whatever the operating system we mentioned, or even our operating system that what we have, they have the basic architecture, the basic means look for them is layer based, and the most probably the layers are the 4 layer. And then in different operating system, we divide them further the 4 layers into 5, or sometimes we divide the 1 layer into the sub layer like that. But the foundation is always having the 4 layers. What are the 4 layers? Like we can call from top to the bottom. So the lower layer is actually always the means low level, which is the hardware, and which is means controlling with the hardware. And the second layer is the device operating system, like the kernels. Then the third layer, top of that, from the bottom is the means operating system libraries, and the top layer from the top, from the bottom to top, that is always about applications. So in simple words, we can say that it is always on the 4 layers. We come from top to down, then the first layer is always for the applications, second layer is always about the operating system libraries, and third is always about the kernel, and the fourth one, the last one is the hardware base. So this is the primary infrastructure for any of the operating system. Then we just divide it, then we just distribute it into different patterns based on the operating system, what operating system we are discussing. Like suppose if Android, a little bit change, if iOS, little bit change, if the Symbian, little bit change, if the BlackBerry, then little bit change like that, but the basic infrastructure will be having the same. So this is important to understand. Now we can go to the Android architecture itself, and then we will see how it is having the resemblance with the basic operating system architecture structure. So now here we are with the Android architecture. So you can see that the Android is a stack of software. So I hope you understand what we mean by the stack. So it is a stack of software components which is roughly divided into 5 sections and 4 main layers. You remember what I mentioned to you, that the basic structure is the 4 layers. In some of the operating system, what we do, one of the layer we can subdivide it into the two. The only rare cases maybe we add the layer number 5. Otherwise, all of the operating systems, whatever they have their basic means infrastructure, basic architecture, like with the 4 layers, and all of them they have the same means sequence. Like the top is application, then the libraries, and then the kernels, and then the hardware. So this is the PET rule. PET rule means which is for the same for all of the operating systems. So it's the same thing here. He is discussing that Android is a stack of software components which is roughly divided into 5 sections, but it's not the layers. But the layers are how many? 4 layers. That's what we discussed. So Android is architect in the form of a software stack and comprising application. So what we said, this is the first topmost. This is the generic means layer model for any of the operating system structure. This could be for any mobile operating system, or even this could be for the Windows or the laptop and tablet operating systems as well. So the first one is application. So what is mentioning here, that is stack comprising the application framework, libraries, and Linux kernel. So you can see that it is same, almost in the same order, in the same fashion. And when you studied the other operating systems, you will find that they all are following the same standard and with the same pattern. So this architecture can perhaps best be represented visually by using figure number 1, which will be means after next slide. So now you can see in the next slide, this is the Android architecture. This is the figure what he is representing or referring to. So now if you just understand that what it is, so just give me 1 minute to, as you can see clearly. So now you can see from here that it is structured in 4 layers. The same structure that what we discussed, the 4 layers here: application, libraries, kernel, and hardware. So you can find out from the top, it is the application layer. Then you can find out, if you just allow me, I may just make a pointer, so it will be easy for you to understand. Yes. So you can see this is the application layer, this is the application framework, then these are the libraries, and this is the Linux kernel. So now you can see the application layer is the native Android apps and third-party apps. Native apps are those apps when you are going to purchase your cell phone. So default apps which you cannot uninstall from them. Those applications are known as native apps. Third-party apps, those apps after purchasing your cell phone, you can install any kind of app. Then application framework. What is the application framework? The framework you can see from here. Here it contains Activity Manager, Windows Manager, Notification Manager, View System, and XMPP Server, Location Manager, Package Manager, Resource Manager, Content Manager. So this framework is actually providing a support to our applications. Say for example, you are using the one of the application which requires the location. So who is responsible or who is handling your helping for this? Here it is Location Manager is the one which will provide the help for you all of your apps for location related issues. Activity Manager, at this stage you don't know that what is the activity, what is the activity life cycle, and what we call how it works in Android. In the upcoming lectures you will know that what's the activity. So you can see that how the activity is going to be managed, who is going to manage this. So this is the one who is responsible for Activity Manager, which is known as Activity Manager. In the same pattern, you are receiving a lot of notifications that you have received a message, you have received a message from WhatsApp, you have some emails, you have some audios, your download is complete, so many different type of the notifications. How those notifications for your any of the app is going to be handled, who is at the back end, who is managing or making this possible for you, that is something here which is called Notification Manager. How they are working, how they are doing these things. in upcoming classes and lectures, you will be using the activity, you will be using the Windows Manager, you will be using writing the code and deploying in your application about the notification manager. You will be using about the view system. What system is doing? It is controlling the view, the GUI about your application. So you will be able to see that how you will be able to handle them. And in the same way, the other for the location manager, for package manager, for resource manager, and there are the few more items as well. So from this, you can get an idea. Now, when we come up to the libraries are the additional libraries, the APIs, which are providing us a support for our applications. Say, for example, one of them is SQLite is there, SSL is there, SGL is there, Surface Manager is there, Media Framework is there. So what we are doing is, suppose we are using the database in our application. So from where we are getting its support, we are using SQLite. This is available in the libraries. So we are not supposed to install, we are not supposed to configure, we are not supposed to go for anything. These libraries are already available, and then we are just going to utilize them and use them for our different purposes, applications. So you can see that the third layer, in this third layer, we again divide it into the sub part, and this part is known as the Android runtime. Normally, we also call it ART, Android runtime. Normally, we call ART. What is the ART? In this ART, you can see these are the core libraries, and then this is the DVM, which is known as the Dalvik Virtual Machine. So I hope that you are knowing about, while you are the programmer for the Java, so you are knowing about the JVM as well, Java Virtual Machine. And this DVM is the Dalvik Virtual Machine. It is taking the code from the JVM of the Java, and then it is compiling into .dex files. It is specifically designed for the resource constrained small applications, but it is taking an input from the JVM. So you will understand how it is. We will further discuss into upcoming slides as well. So Android runtime is working on this with the help of the DVM. So I hope you understand the difference between the JVM and the DVM as well. The last layer, when we reaches here, so you can find here, this is the Linux kernel. So in Linux kernel, the most probably it is the interaction with the hardware, and this is the most importantly responsible for the drivers for what we are using. For example, display drivers, Wi-Fi drivers, audio drivers, so Bluetooth drivers, camera drivers, power management, and other things, flash memory drivers. So this is all our means making us enable to keep working those all components that what we mentioned here. So this is the very simple architecture for your Android operating system. So if we go back and compare with the standard architecture of the operating system, where we mentioned that it is normally having the 4 layers. So it is having the 4 layers, and always the top layer is the application layer, then the application framework, libraries, and the Linux kernel, which is the interacting with the hardware. So it's very simple. This is how Android architecture system is there. So now you can see from here, when we talk about the application, we already discussed that the native applications and third-party applications. So here he is trying to explain us more. This gentleman is mentioning that the Android has the system applications which are built in your devices, and you cannot uninstall those applications. That is the most important point about it. So which applications are there? Like contacts, like galleries, like SMS, like camera, like calendar, and different other layers and different other applications. So if you wish to uninstall those applications, system will not allow you to uninstall those applications. Why? Because those applications are actually the native applications. Sorry, the native applications. And native applications are those which are the Android apps which comes with when you purchase your device, and you will not be able to uninstall them. So these are the applications at the layer, at the first layer. The third-party applications are also used, such as games, media applications, etc. Your WhatsApp, whatever the applications then we are installing. So you can develop your own applications that those applications will also go to the same level, will also run at the application layer of the Android system. So in simple words, we can say any of the application what we have, either it is the native or either it's the third party application. So that will run at the application layer. That is the most important point that what we are trying to summarize from this point, from this first layer. So now we understand the first layer, which is the application layer, is responsible to learn all of the applications. Either they are native applications, either they are the third party applications. They will be run at the top layer of the Android architecture. Now you remember what is the next? The next is the Android in the architecture. What is the name of the second layer? That is the application framework. Sorry, I'm having a water. So application framework, you can see here the second one layer, which we call here, that is the application framework here. So an application framework is actually what it is, we already discussed, but just to make you more clear about that, this layer contains the APIs, okay, written in Java to be used with your application. These APIs can provide all the required features to your application. So if we don't have those APIs, then we will not be able to run our applications. And all of the layers, we have a very important role. They all are essential, okay, in sequence for any of the application what we are trying to run. So now you can see from here, these APIs can provide all required features to your applications. For example, if your app wants to use the Wi-Fi features, it can interact with the Wi-Fi manager to use the required capabilities. Similarly, an app requiring notification features will interact with the notification manager. So that's what we already discussed, that how if we require activity, we require location, we require Windows management, we require notification management. So we required Wi-Fi, we required whatever. So it will go to the application framework. And in this, there are many more other components as well as we discussed earlier. So now what happened the next? The next is, if we can see, the third layer is the libraries, about the libraries. So in the libraries, what is there? In the libraries, there is actually the different libraries. We just took the one of the example about the SQLite, which is the most important because we will be using the database as well in our applications as well. So what is the libraries? The libraries is further divided into the Android runtime as well. So now we're going back to that. So you can see from the libraries are the next layer, which is the third layer in the Android architecture from top to bottom. And Android architecture, it includes what? Native libraries. Native libraries, it means those libraries which are already built in, which we cannot uninstall, and which are providing the support to the native applications, and also they are ready to provide the support for third-party applications are what we are going to install. Libraries carries a set of instructions to guide the device of handling the different types of functions. These libraries are written in C and C++. One of the best example, we already coded about the SQLite, and you can see about the 3D and other support for the gaming purpose. Those all are a bunch of the libraries. Means there no not we cannot say there are one or two libraries, but there are so many libraries, but they reside at the layer number 3. Now, Android open source libraries, few of them, just to name it for your understanding, they are here, like suppose Surface Manager, SGL for 2D graphics, OpenGL for 3D graphics, media frameworks, free types, WebKit, SQLite, SSL, sorry. So there are so many. Means these are the only few we just name it for your understanding. But there are so many libraries are there, and now you know that why they are there and how and when we can use them. Sorry. Now you notice the next point that in the layer number 3, we have the libraries and also the Android runtime. So now it's a time to understand the Android runtime, which is also known AR. So Android runtime It contains all core Java libraries. Okay, that is the part we can see. That is the part of compilation, the compiler. So it contains all core Java libraries which required to run and Android app, and most importantly, here contains the virtual machine, okay, to execute the application on Android devices. The virtual machine we are using, which is known as DVM, as we already discussed about that. So DVM is a stand for Dalvik Virtual Machine. But now we need to understand how it works. If we can see it in a pictorial presentation, then it will be more easy for us to understand. So just give me 1 minute so I can show you in a more means appropriate or in a more better way so you can find out that how it is. So this is, you remember that what is the name of the software used to execute bytecode? We already mentioned about that in the Java that you are using the Java virtual machine or JVM, but here we are using the DVM. So it doesn't mean that we are not using DVM because we are using the compiler, which is the Java based compiler. So how then we are using? So see from this picture, this will be means making your life easier to understand the concept about that. So you can see this is the component, which is the means layer number 3. Remember, this is the Android runtime component, and you remember we said the core libraries and the Dalvik machine. So how it is working? If we come here, so you can see this is the Java source code because you are writing your programs in Java source code, and what we are doing in Java, normally we use the Java compiler, and Java compiler compiles it with the bytecode. You remember the JVM, it compiles and then it generates, it creates the code which is the means known as the Java bytecode, and then it goes to the Java bytecode, goes to the JVM. So this is how the pattern what you are means this aspect what the pattern what you are using for your Java. So now what we are doing here, additionally in your means Android, you can see and compare both of the figures to better understand. So you can see from here in Java we have the Java source code. Here we have Java source code, the same. Then we need the Java compiler. Sure, yes, sure. We need the Java compiler. So you know that we have the core libraries which is helping us for the compilation. So then what happened? In the Java, we use the Java bytecode. Okay, no problem. We are doing the same Java bytecode. But after that, this bytecode Java bytecode goes directly to JVM. But now here the change is there. So what happened when we use Java bytecode, we use the DEX compiler. So we have the DEX compiler here. So the DEX compiler is actually means helping us what it is and to compile the that code which is known as the Dalvik bytecode. So here we use the only bytecode, but here we are now making it the Dalvik bytecode. So now Dalvik bytecode is just going to used by Dalvik virtual machine DVM. So you can see here that here we are skipping from this, but we are going for this one with the DVM rather to use the JVM. Why we are doing this? We are doing this because this is specifically designed for the resource constraint machines, which are small machines like our tablets, our cell phones, and these things. So this is, in other words, we can say that this is specifically designed for this purpose. That's why we are using that one. So the Dalvik virtual machine is the Google implementation. This is the additional thing which is means deployed or implemented by the Google of Java, and it is optimized for mobile devices. As we mentioned, that this is specifically designed for the resource constrained devices like our cell phone and mobile phones and our tablets. They are resource constraints. So this is specifically designed for that one. So in other words, we can say for our regular Java programs, we are using JVM with the Java compiler, but for our cell phones, we are using the means DVM. This is the difference. So what are the key features for the Dalvik? A register-based versus stack-based virtual machine. Dalvik runs .dex files only. So Dalvik will only miscompile .dex or .dex, whatever you call, file. So you can understand what it means. So we already explained it here in this point. So more efficient and compact implementation. It is more important, efficient, lighter. Okay, because why? Because it is specifically designed to optimize our devices. Difficult set of the all Java libraries and then the SDK. Sorry, not difficult, different set of the Java libraries than the SDK. So it contains the different sets and it is good to be implemented. So I hope that you understand what we mean by the DVM and how it is different from the JVM and how its compilation is different from the Java in the. So further details, same thing we already discussed, but this I'm just going to read this for you. So maybe you are not missing any point. So Java source code is compiled by the Java compiler into .class files. This you are already aware. Then the Dexter tool, this is for the means DVM, part of the Android SDK, processes the .class extension files into the format of DEX. So this is the DEX file that what we are saying means being compiled by the Dalvik. Contains the Dalvik bytecode. So once it is the DEX file, it means now it is ready as the Dalvik bytecode, and now we are ready to compile it with the DVM. So DX tool eliminate all the redundant information. You remember we mentioned here that it is more efficient. It is more efficient and compact implementation information. So that's what he is mentioning here, that it eliminate all of the redundant information that is present in the classes. In the DEX, all classes of the applications are packed into the one file. Okay, so it is compact level. And DVM, which is the Dalvik virtual machine, has designed so that device can run multiple instances of the virtual machine. So it is designed for having the virtual machine can be efficiently run the various instances, and also it is designed to make it efficient. Also, it is designed for the resource constraint application. So now you know why we need actually the DVM. Dalvik is the best for devices with limited computing capabilities. The same thing that what we are discussing. So this is how the DVM or Dalvik virtual machine is working for us. This is important as well, that we know that why and how this is working for us. So this is the difference between the Dalvik and the JVM that what we discussed earlier. Now is going to the Linux kernel. Linux kernel, this is actually the fourth layer. You remember, if we just go back to verify this, you can verify here. This is the Linux kernel. This is the fourth one, Linux kernel. So now he's saying, we already know that why, for what it is. So he's taking us, so we just see that what it is, letting us know about further. So it's mentioning that it contains all essential hardware drivers. So it is the one which enable us means at the hardware level, providing the support for the drivers. Like what type of drivers? Cameras, keypad, displays, etc. What do you mean by etc.? There are so many things because we cannot mention them, all of them here. So you can see from here, and even more and more and more. So what lies on the last layer, number 4. So also, the kernel handles all the things that Linux is really good at, such as driver management. So for the driver management, also on top of that, not only this layer is doing the driver management, but also it's handling security management, resource management, memory management, power management. So I hope that you already go through with the operating system module. So you know that what is the resource management, what is the memory management, what's the power management, what's the deadlocks, what are the resource locations, and these things, these concepts I hope that you already have. So you can see that these all are managed at the lower level, which is known, the name for that particular layer is known as the Linux kernel. Now we are reached to the Android features, which is the most important point. Now these features are not means general features. We are not talking about the features that we say that it's free, it's open source, it is widely available, so many applications they are using. No, but we are trying to discuss and focus about the features which are really important with respect to the security of the application, with respect to the resource management with respect to the functionality, background functionality. So how the Android means those features are, maybe the most of the people, they are not aware about it, but we, because we are going to work for that, so we have to be aware about that as well. So there is a concept. That concept is known in Android as a sandbox. A very important concept in the sandbox, which makes the Android very popular. What is the sandbox? The sandbox is actually trying to isolate the app, one app from the other app. So that app may be the native app or even the app what you are installing, what you are writing the code for that. For any of the app, the sandbox concept is there. What it means, what it is doing actually. The sandbox, it is, say for example, you are writing a one app, running a one app. So the sandbox concept will isolate your app and whatever the resources it is using, whatever the libraries it is using, whatever the permissions it is using, whatever the databases it is using. So that will be isolated from all other apps which are available at the same platform, at the same Android. If any of the other application wants to use any of the resources from your app, then it has to go through with the permissions. Otherwise, they will not have access to that. So you can see from here, the Android application sandbox, which isolate your app data and code execution from other apps. So the other apps, they will not be able to execute the code for your app. Other apps, they will not be able to access even within the same your Android. They will not be able to use your code, use your data, or use any resources from your app. It will isolate your app, not only your app, but it will isolate the other apps, each app from the other app. Now, what happened? This is for the sake of the resource management, for the sake of the security purpose. So now, in case if suppose you want to means use the resources from the other apps, then you are supposed to go with the permissions. Like suppose you remember while you are installing, configuring any of the third-party app, it is asking to you that this app will use camera, this will use your contacts, this will use your mic, and so on and so on. So why it is asking? You are already installing your app, so why not it goes directly? Why it feel a need? Because it is also a part of your mobile phone. The other applications are also the part of your mobile phone, either native or third party. So why not it's going directly and to use that one? No, it cannot. Cannot. That concept is actually known as the sandbox concept. Now, what are the other features which are the database support? The Android APIs contain support, as you remember we discussed already, SQLite. By the way, this was not available in earlier, as you remember I told you that previously we were using only the file based system for the database. So in the file-based system, database is whenever you run your application, it will rewrite the values or overwrite the values over the past one, and we cannot contain the sequential levels of the database, and we cannot store the higher level of the requirements of the database. But now it is quite easy and quite simple that the Android APIs contain support for creating and using SQLite. So they are by default available in the libraries. We are not supposed to install and do anything, but we will just use those libraries and we can use those databases, and they are very efficient as well. Each database is private to application that creates it. How? Why? It's private. You remember already we discussed about the sandbox. So sandbox will not allow whatever the database, whatever the application we created actually for our own application, that will be the part of our own application only. That will not be allowed, to be used by any other application. This is the most important concept which can help us with related to the security of the application and with related to the resources of the application. This is important. Now, Android ships with the SQLite. What do I mean by the ships? It means that it already has by default support, and we are actually not required going to install or configure anything for that. So, which enables you to browse the tables, contents, run SQL commands, as perform other useful functionalities on your SQLite database as well. So these things you can do by default. All databases which are for the SQLites and others are stored in the device in the data packet. This is only for your idea, for understanding that whatever the databases you are creating, so where that is going to be stored. So that is going to be stored in this particular different location. And this is very simple as well. Maybe with the newer version, they are keep changing, but that's the default point that where it can be going to store. Now, what are the other features for network connectivity? Because if we are using the Android, we need the network connectivity. We need the network connectivity using the Wi-Fi. We need the network connectivity using the mobile data. We need the connectivity using the Bluetooth. We need the connectivity using the NFC. We need the connectivity using any feature. And we need the connectivity using browsers and everything. So Android supports, by default, it supports the wireless communications using GSM, mobile connections, 3G, 4G, Edge, and 5G, and so on. So that's why you remember that when the 5G is there, so our old handset, they are not supporting to that one, but we require the new handset. Why the new handset? Because that particular hardware is not available which can support. What it mean by the hardware? The hardware which is enabled to get the signals, receive the signals for 5G. So for that, with the new version, we have that hardware, we have that application framework component there. We have means all of the layers are means updated according to that one. So we have everything. We have drivers for that, everything. So we are able to use that one. HTTP, we can use HTTP, SSL, and all of these things, XML, all support is available with our features are available with our Android, which is the most importantly, means make it easy and make it more powerful to handle these things easily. So now what's the next? The next is that the security architecture. This is the most important point. The people who are thinking, and as a security expert, we are also saying that security is always having a very much high concern. So all of the companies, they are considering this importantly. But it doesn't mean that if we are saying that these features are there, so it means that security is no more issue and everything is fine. No, security issue is there. But again, parallel to that, the companies, they are also considering giving a higher level consideration to the security features. So you can see from here, from the permissions, security permissions, you will find that the security permissions are at file level, at application level, even at means lower level. So you already know that we have the concept about sandbox. Now you can see the further that even they are not allowed to share the resources, the one app to be with the other app. So this is how, and this is why, because we are trying to manage and maintain the higher level of the security. So for that, we have a central design point of Android security architecture, which makes sure that no application by default has a permission to access any resources. But if the owner who is installing the app are we required to go to take the means some of the resources from the other app, then we are supposed to go in a proper way. Like suppose if you have some means application, you wish to use the gallery, then you have to go through the process of permissions. There, if you wish to use the context from your means contact of your cell phones, your third-party app, then you have to go a proper way. But by default, they might not, they will not have any permissions to access any of the data. So any application process is secure. That's what we are. It is referring again back to the sandbox, and I hope that you already understand about that. So it can't disrupt other applications. Each application is considered as an independent individual entity, and that whatever the resources it requires, those resources are belongs to that. Those resources cannot go to any other app. So this is how we are managing the security in Android. But that is only the first level. But we are doing even more. That's why it is letting us know that what are the other security features. So permissions are required for any application to declare statically that application wants to use any source ABC from the other application. So you understand about these permissions, you understand about the sandbox. But even if we just go ahead, so you can see that the second level of the features is we can call the process level security. Not only the resource level security, user and file level security through the user and groups ID enforced through the Linux using permissions. Even the process which involved for any of the app, it is being controlled for the security. It is independent for each of the application. Users' files as well are not allowed to be used with anyone else. The same way, the permissions, using the permissions, we are supposed to use anything, either it's a small or either it's a big, either it is minor or it's a major, but otherwise each and every application is as an independent application. We cannot use its process, we cannot use its memory, we cannot use database, we cannot use any resource of that application. So we have different levels of security. We have sandbox concept as well. So if someone or some application wish to use the resources, then that application needs the permission. So these features are known as the security features of the Android. So thank you very much for your time. And I hope that you understand as an overall that what we mean by the Android Studio, what is the Android Studio architecture, what is the mobile operating system, and what is the operating system as a whole, what is the architecture as a whole for the many of the operating system, either it is for the mobile based or either it is for our PCs or laptops, and at the same time, what are their layer architectures and why, how many layers are there and how they are organized and how we are, what components they contain, especially in case of the Android, and how it's different from the other mobile operating system, and how many operating systems are there and how they are different, what are the different versions are there for the Android, what is the Dalvik and what is the JVM, how they are different from each other, how we use the compilation, what libraries and the API support are there, how we can use them with these details, and what are the core features of the Android. These all things are important to learn before you start writing your code. And then the most importantly thing is that you are required to install to configure now Android Studio from today up to the second week when we will be in the means next week. So try to configure on your machines, and if you are working in your, the best thing is that you may install, you may configure on means individual basis. The reason is that because uh, you will be means this thing will be required a lot of practice to make you perfect, to make you up to date according to the need and the requirement of it. So for that we need that each of individual out of you spend time for writing the codes, spend time. If you receive the means bugs and errors, welcome that, because those are the ways you will understand, you will learn the things and not to be worried about that. But each and every individual has to go through this process. You can, we already shared the file for the groups, and last night I checked that still none of you key in the information about your group. That was supposed to be done by today. So we can extend the 1 day further about that, because that will be there for your assignment, assessments, and for your all of your work from now to onward up to the end of the semester. So please, you can discuss. I can understand it, why it's taking a time. So now you know about your groups, about your friends. So you just discuss with them and try to key in the information because we cannot wait further. So we have to start the things functioning now. So what I mean by the groups, for the groups, you can do again, you can work jointly. For the groups, you can submit your assessments by one of your group leader. But the most important thing is that for this programming course, you have individual basis, you have to involve yourself. The much you will involve yourself, the much there are, means higher chances that you will be learning a lot. So you can find a lot of help from my side, from your own group mates, from the Google, from the Android resources. So now the things are simple. It's not like the previous like 5 6 years before. So you just try to get the benefit as you can learn, and your learning curve should be higher and higher. So this is the most important point. And about your which classes will be face to face, and those classes which will be the face to face, they will be face to face as well as online for tutorial and labs only, while your theory classes will be online. So that means schedule is also shared in the format of PDF using the Times forum. So I hope that all of you already received that one, and a few of your students, your friends, they are keep sending to the emails to me. They are unable to join the class. I'm not sure that what is the problem, because I try to edit them several times. That's why maybe you are receiving again and again invitation. So this is somehow, if a few of the students are left, so I'm just trying to add them and update the invitation. So if you are keep receiving the invitation again and again, sorry for that botheration, but because we need to accommodate to your other friends as well. But I'm wondering that why it is, because these channels are created by the university. So by default, whoever is going to register any particular course, that will be by default member of that particular channel. So they can be part of this one. But anyhow, we are trying to help everyone so we can be at the same page. So this is what we discussed today. So now you just take your time. If suppose you have any question, you're most welcome. Otherwise, you take your time, and you may configure the Android Studio before the next Wednesday. So because in the next Wednesday class, we will be going to discuss about theoretical part, as well as we will try to start coding as well in your theory part as well. So wish you best of luck. Thank you very much. Now we may go for the attendance, and today we will go for the attendance with a different pattern, uh, the same old pattern that what we were using before through the camp system. So I will just open it for you, the code. So please keep ready your cell phones. Just give me the 1 minute so we can just stop the recording because we are done from this. Yeah.